What's going on, everybody? It's Manta Musa here. So, as you probably know, the jury selection for the Derek Chauvin trial has begun. So, as you amidst the death of George Floyd, a whole nationwide movement arose. This nationwide movement was known as Black Lives Matter, or as I call it, Black Lies Matter. But this video isn't meant to say that there isn't systemic racism or there isn't issues. This video is solely targeted at the organization of Black Lives Matter and my problems with the organization. So let me be clear. I'm not a This isn't a stereotypical black conservative who doesn't support Black Lives Matter video. I believe police brutality and systemic racism exist, or at least systemic bias, and they are a problem in this country. Now, however, I do believe that the very left leaning media can exaggerate it, like systemic racism, like they make it too serious. And that's problematic because it's essentially the boy who cried wolf. And I do feel that many social justice warriors, SJW types, uh, for like radical leftists, when they call people who they disagree with a Nazi, a racist, all this bad shit, or they uh, brand certain situations that may not necessarily be racist, it's another boy who cried wolf scenario. When actual racism shows up, nobody's gonna believe us. Or they'll, even if it's so obvious, they'll literally turn a blind eye. But I should probably just get right into it. Uh, so Black Lives Matter was an organized. So let me just start with the history of Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter started in around the 2012s, the mid to early 2000s, um, after the death of Trayvon Martin, the murder of Trayvon Martin, at the hands of George Zimmerman, and it arose after George Zimmerman was found not guilty. So, Black Lives Matter was an organization. It had a good purpose in the beginning, and has a good sentiment now. But its purpose in the beginning was to end police brutality. Well, yeah, end police brutality, and racism. Now, I will add a little bit more context to this. So, the founders of Black Lives Matter are Alicia Garza, Patrice Cullors, and Opal Tometi. And they have admitted multiple times that they are trained Marxists. Patrice Cullors has admitted that they are trained Marxists, meaning the founders of BLM are trained Marxists. And not only that, they all appear to be advocates for the LGBT community. And to add to their Marxism, they said, and I quote, "We disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable." It says it says this on the page titled "We Believe." Now, that's the part I can't get behind. Their Marxism. Now, I actually knew about this a long time ago, but even then, that made me a little iffy. But then I realized that, all my friends that supported BLM, they don't have Marxist beliefs. Many of them, they fully want nuclear families. And, you know, um, studying Marxism a little bit more, I realized that disrupting the nuclear family, personally, I'm not a fan of Marxism. But destroying the nuclear family would actually be incredibly damaging to Marxism because the nuclear family unit itself is a sort of Marxist faction, if you will. There are only two people providing, and they share what they provide with one another and make a home with one another. They share in one another's benefits. They upkeep the home together. The children help upkeep the home. The parents help upkeep the home. They eat here, like they eat at the home. So that in itself is would should be supported by Marxists. But I just think that destroying the nuclear family is inconsistent to their Marxist beliefs. But frankly, I'd like it if Marxism would fail because I'm not a fan of it. I really think it's problematic. So, I mean, if you guys think that's gonna help your cause, be my guest. It won't, which is why I want them to destroy the nuclear family so they can see how stupid it is for their cause if they wanted things to be Marxist. But anyway, those are the founders of Black Lives Matter. Founders, not leaders, meaning they founded the organization. So, another problem I have with Black Lives Matter is that the money they collected, not one fucking cent went to black people. Not one. Like, they had thousands of millions of dollars in donations, and it went to nowhere to black people at all. It's a scam. And many on Blacktube, as I like to call it, Blacktube, it's the Blacktube with black empowerment. I'll give you a link to many Blacktube channels that I subscribe to. Many on Blacktube have called this out to Black Lives Matter. Now, another thing. Now, for all my liberal audience, which I love you all, but here's when things get a little bit uncomfortable. We have to talk about the riots in the summer. They were bad. And I don't see any politician, anybody on the left denouncing them. Oh, except for Joe Biden, actually. Joe Biden actually denounced the rioting and looting. And if you go to that comment section, they're still not mad for some reason. Um, and and first of all, conservatards, they have this conspiracy theory. They're like, they bailed out rioters and looters. No, the fuck they did not bail out rioters and looters from prison, okay? They never did that. And I get, like, I fucking dare you, any of you conservators listening to this, prove it to me. Prove it. And I will admit I'm wrong. But I've done my own little research. They did not. And if you think about it, does that even make sense to you? Why would they bail out some lower, like, these are elite liberals? Why would they bail out rioters and looters just to break them out so they can go back and riot and loot some more? Like, that's just counterintuitive. So, like, listen, I know conservators, they live in this fantasy world where where liberals are evil and they're the virtuous ones. Like, but so I guess maybe they think they're so evil that they 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 break out rioters and looters just so they can riot and loot again. They're violent. Like, first of all, that reminds me of that skit on Family Guy. So it was like a documentary on gay people on Family Guy. And so the doctor, and in the skit there was a doctor and a man. And the doctor, he pricked his arm with a needle, and then acid came out, and then the speaker was like, "If your friend has acidic blood, you've got a gay." Now that was the bit. they were basically making up things about gay people, which was poking fun at people who hate gay people. Now that's what I think with conservatives who like hate liberals in general. And trust me, you guys have many reasons to hate liberals, and I'll make another video on that. But that first of all, that's a social thing. Whenever you hate someone, you make up rumors and lies about them. Like I heard, I heard he shit on the floor at school, or I heard she did this, I heard she does that. Like you see, humans are social creatures, so they spread up lies and misconceptions about things they don't like or understand. But enough about that. I'm just getting that out the way. Um, so be it. I've been seeing very few politicians denounce the rioting and looting, except Joe Biden, which he has my respect for. Oh, don't get me wrong. I fucking hate him now. Buyer's remorse. Fucking buyer's remorse. But he had my respect for denouncing the rioting and looting, which nobody else was doing. Um, so my problem with them is that they didn't hold the rioters and looters accountable. They not only that, but they also didn't the organizers didn't do anything in their power to stop rioting and looting and ensure that their protest truly was peaceful. Like during the summer, during the George Floyd protest, like I said, I'm not a conservative pundit. I'm not gonna be a like Black Lives Matter is evil. They burned cities to the ground, which is which is an exaggeration, by the way, by conservatives. But they still did a lot of damage, and it is much more complicated than that. And what's funny is conservatives are the type of people who are against big government, and yet they're okay with yet they're okay with a hyper militarized police state. Like in during the same summer, they were going on they were whining about lockdowns, and you may have an opinion on lockdowns, but I personally think the lockdowns were necessary in order to stop the spread. But I'm sure there's a different opinion to that. And but they were whining about how the lockdowns, how their freedoms and livelihoods and lives were being infringed. Calling us on the left authoritarians, and yet but when the George Floyd protests came and police started gassing protesters, they went all out. They were like they fully supported the police, the military, gassing, arrests, brutalizing protesters. Like, get them. Yeah. And another thing, all of that rioting and looting happened under, their God Emperor Trump, their former God Emperor Trump, America. But so back to BLM. If the protests were well organized and monitored, they wouldn't have escalated. They wouldn't. And so I actually made a video, and this isn't all. This isn't all. Like blessings and love to those of you that did peaceful protest, and like first of all, extra blessings and love to those of you who, because I saw videos of protesters actually stopping rioters. And I have a video on that, which you can check out. It's somewhere there. Now I'll put a link in it in the description below. But so yeah, it just escalated. Like 20 people died, and they killed a police officer, David Dorn. Oh my gosh, why did you guys have to do that? He seemed like a really cool person. And even though I'm not a bootlicker or a pro cop, like fuck Blue Lives Matter, but because let's face it, Blue Lives Matter, it's just like a snappy comeback to stick it to the left, like everything on the right now. Um, always hated the right. But anyway, not all cops are bad. There are many good men and women who protect and serve like they're supposed to and are fair and active in their communities. But anyway, David Dorn's death gave conservatives ammunition, just like Brian Sicknick's death gave us ammunition. And it turns out the nigga didn't even die, Brian Sicknick didn't even die from pro Trump rioters. I mean, don't get me wrong, they still heavily all the stress in that situation still heavily contributed to his death, and that's on them. But did they beat him with a fire extinguisher? No. That was a lie. And thanks a lot, media, for not covering that. But yeah, you guys didn't hold rioters and looters accountable, and you suck for that. But speaking of rioters and looters, I was watching one of that stupid bitch Caitlyn Bennett's videos. You know, Poo Poo Bennett, Gun Girl Bennett, just Gun Girl. And she was speaking to a man cleaning up glass from his broken shop. I mean, yeah, his broken window at his store, and she asked him what his thoughts on the matter was. And I think she knows what he means, the rioting and looting. And what he said gave me hope. And another thing, you guys, you did this in your own fucking cities, in our cities, our liberal, you know, social distancing metropolises. You did this in your own fucking cities. You damaged your neighbor's property. Like, don't you think that's counterintuitive? You did this to a city full of people who likewise share, like, majority of them share your political views and might have been stood in solidarity with you. So you're gonna, and those of you that don't but could have been pushed to stand in solidarity with you, you looted and burned their businesses. And hold on, let me say something else about the rioters and looters. There are also bad actors. Okay? I really believe that this summer there were a lot of bad actors, people who don't necessarily care about Black Lives Matter, who just about Black Lives and just wanted to riot and loot and steal whatever shit they want. Like I saw this fat ass bitch walk out of a Target with some Nikes on, with some Nikes. And I'm just like, "Oh, I get it." But anyway, that's what sort of debunked the whole narrative that, oh, the left is evil. No, they're not evil, they're humans. These are and these are humans that may be on the left, but they don't care about Black lives, and they're just using it as an excuse to riot and loot. But yeah, there are bad actors, and you guys, they should have. So you know how whenever we talk about police brutality, and they bring up, oh, there are bad apples, weed out the bad apples. Well, that's the same thing with protests. Weed out the bad apples. Weed out the unhinged, problematic people. Oh my gosh. All you conservatives are probably making a joke saying, well, that's all of you. But, so where was I? Oh, right. The guy who was cleaning up the broken window, the broken glass from his shop. And what he said gave me hope. He said, find a better way to get your message out. Like, he wasn't aggressive. He wasn't guns blazing saying, fuck Black Lives Matter, I hate you guys. Which leads me to believe he understands there's a problem of systemic racism, but he's like, man, why y'all gotta attack my shop? And I agree. They should have found a better way to get their message out there. That doesn't involve destroying other people's public fucking property. Like, it also broke my heart because that little bit of hope that he had for this problem, he, who knows, maybe he lost it. Maybe you evil motherfuckers didn't stop. He didn't give Catelyn what she wanted. He wasn't aggressive towards or resentful, but maybe he is a little resentful. He just said, find a better way to get your message out there. Rioters and looters, they completely ruined the movement. Nobody's gonna fucking listen to you if you smash up their store and steal up their shit. And steal all their shit. If it were up to me, I'd add All Lives Matter to Black Lives Matter chant. I would. Because that'll get more people on our side. I would say Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter. That would be the chant. Because it would get all those white people who have a hard time talking about racism on our side. But anyway, but like I said, kudos to those that actually were able to do peaceful protests. Like there was this one protest where the cops they kneeled with the protesters. One guy he gave water bottles to the police officers. Like it was beautiful. There were white people of all races, white, black, Asians, Latinos, standing in the streets in solidarity shouting Black Lives Matter. Oh, 4 minutes for silence. Now, during all this time, conservatives they regrouped. They were like, "Oh my God, look at all this attention the left is getting." But so nah, I'll make another video on that. But anyway, so like I said, many protesters and demonstrators of BLM actually tried to stop the rioting and looting. However, the organizers of the protests should have a set of rules and conduct on how to assemble peacefully. Like Tamika Mallory actually made a video. Hold on, let me show you this video.
That we have a responsibility to the rest of this nation and to generations to come. That we conduct ourselves, again, not peacefully, but non-violently, yes. So that the story that comes out of here is that we are not the murderers, we are not the looters, we are not the burners, we are not the ones. They did it to us, and we are only responsible.
If only all BLM organizers were like Tamika, then there would be no riots, nothing for them to call us out on. But anyway, the problem I have with Black Lives Matter is that, like I said in the beginning, they fucked everything up. Like, they dropped the ball and gave conservatives ammunition to use against us with all this rioting and looting. And Antifa. Don't get me started on Antifa. Please stop working with Antifa. It's true, it's not, first of all, it's true Antifa is not as big as a problem as the right likes to say it is, but they are fucking like they're deranged. Stay away from them. Like Antifa is indeed an idea. Joe Biden was right. It's not an organization. There's no official way to join it. But people who do Antifa things, stay away from them. Okay? They are extremists. Now, why do I say that? Because Antifa, they're the radical ones. Like, aren't they the ones that killed a lady for saying all lives matter? Uh, they also killed several Trump supporters, but then again, no, I'm not even going to play that route. That seems disrespectful to the Trump supporters. But, well, the Trump supporters, I don't know what they're doing there in the first place, but still, they shouldn't have killed them. And another thing, many of their mobs harass people in Trump supporter hats. Like people in MAGA hats. So you see the problems a lefty, has with Black Lives Matter. We need a new organization. We do. I don't know. maybe an organization that will actually use the donation against the better black communities. But seriously, taking money, taking money and then not giving it to the black community and then getting white Antifa members and, people opportunists to loot black businesses, that is not a good look at all. In short, we, the left, need a better organization to support black lives. Now, okay, so I'm gonna end this video on a lighthearted note. And that lighthearted note is that I still support the sentiment of Black Lives Matter. I do, but not the organization and not what they have done. So anyway, that is why I don't fuck with Black Lives Matter anymore.